Well, Siddharth, I believe that you have been exposed to a very steep and exponential learning curve through this experience. So tell us, like, how was life after moving on as a pilot in the Indian Navy? And did you not think of joining the commercial airline industry?
The reason that I could not join or continue mainstream aviation was that I had a medical problem, which I discovered during the middle of my the flying phase, and I could not continue flying in the Navy. And once I come out, it is the same aviation medicine guys that would go on to approve the medical fitness of pilots that are flying in India. So it did not make any sense to, once they disqualify you on medical grounds, then it is better that you take an alternate career. But luckily for me, at around that time, we had the field of drones coming up. And I was traveling extensively the length and breadth of the country once I quit, and I went to Lucknow, and I got a lift on a car to reach Kanpur. And when I struck the conversation with the guy that gave me the lift, he suggested me something interesting. He told me, you have flying skills, you have obviously some managerial skills based on your training in the military. Why don't you combine both of this and become a drone pilot? I mean, it was a valid suggestion. I never thought about this before, and I came back, I gave it some thought, and I decided I should explore this. And I sat down, I made a list of the Indian companies that are into drones, and I mailed the top 5 of them for a job. I got 3 interviews, I got selected in 2, and I selected one of them. And I worked for India's largest drone manufacturer back then, and the capacity of business development associate, where it is my duty to travel around the country, interact with forest department officials like the national park directors, the principal chief conservator of forest, and I also handle people accounts in the state disaster response force, the police force, and also sometimes the military and paramilitary. So as a part of my job, I would have to travel at least 20 days in a month. It never felt like doing a job when I was traveling. When you travel, you travel. You go and meet people. I traveled around the northeastern part of India for continuously 35 days, taking 2 large drones with me, by road to every capital city, and meeting every police chief, military commanding officers, forest department, you name the people who will be interested in seeing a drone fly in their institution. I've already met them during 2017. And not only that, I got to see during the time that I am free, I go and explore the places around. And I think in my friend circle, I was the only one to have seen the border ceremony, which happens at Wagah border, in Punjab. Something very similar happens in the Bangladesh border in Agartala, in Tripura. So I've seen both of these in the same year, and not many people can boast about it. 2 ceremonies in the same year on 2 different borders. Yes, I also went and traveled extensively in the state of Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, northwestern part of India, that shares the border with Pakistan. You find a lot of use for drones there. So I used to travel a lot and enjoy my job there. And I mean, everything was going well, and I wanted to, climb the corporate career. The corporate ladder needs to be climbed, and I decided that, and I decided a management degree would be very, very useful to achieve this result. And I've always dreamt of doing my studies abroad. If not for the chance that I got in Navy, I would have left to a university close to London for pursuing my MBA. I had both the opportunities, and I chose the other option. And I now have time. I told myself that I have the age to do this, and I set on a journey towards Europe. And I was very clear in my mind that I would not take a loan, and I would not take money from my parents. And I told my consultant, I have 5 to 6 lakhs of savings, and I want to go to a country that does not speak English. Give me the best university that is, and I will write to them. And I was given a list of universities in Austria, Hungary, Switzerland, and Italy. And the university in Italy had the best employability ratings, so I chose them.
Okay, Siddharth. So tell us, like, how did you land up an internship with the Japanese company?
Oh well, I have been, after joining the university there, I spent my first year completely into studies, and at the same time, I knew that the university there had some mandatory work experience requirement, regardless of whether you have years of experience, years of actual work experience. You need to work during your post graduation there. And I was in search of a drone company, and there aren't many companies in Europe that specializes in drones and still have an internship opportunity. And it was difficult to convince the HR people just with my CV or resume. They tell me that my CV gets lost in numbers. I was one of the very few people when I went to Europe who was qualified on 3 different aircraft: fixed wing, rotary wing, and also unmanned aerial vehicle, which I was trained when I was working for the Indian company. And I thought it would be a cakewalk for me to get an internship, but it wasn't. I simply had to apply close to 250 applications only on LinkedIn. And if I even today, if I take a look at my sent mails on Gmail, there would be hundreds of emails lying down there that I've addressed to companies right from Portugal in the west to even Russia in the east, and I've addressed rich countries like Switzerland and also not so rich countries like Bulgaria. I've tried everything: big companies, small companies, multiple hundreds of emails, but it didn't work. And then I understood that I got lost in numbers, and probably if people take a look at me, and then they will be convinced. And this is when also it was a time when I had a lot of time for myself, because I excelled in academics. It wasn't a problem for me. We were under, when I was doing my engineering, we used to finish books 4 days before the exam. That was the level of stress back there, and the Italian system was far too easy for us, and this allowed a lot of time for other activities, and I used that for traveling and also to explore and participate in competitions. And this was a rare opportunity where I got an opportunity to travel to a country called Luxembourg and participate in a business competition. And the trip was sponsored by the university. It's even better. So I went there to participate. I unfortunately the event got cancelled due to some reasons, but we got passes to attend all the parallel events, and that is when I met my boss. He was there, sitting there with a drone, and I inquired. I spoke to him for 5 to 10 minutes, and that's it. He got sold on my idea for that, on idea of me working for him on an internship. He used to travel close to 30 or 40 different countries in a year when he was looking for business opportunities back then. And I think by which time he was really stressed and he wanted someone to take a part of it. And he spoke to me for a few minutes. Someone standing next to him had told him in Japanese that, you must hire this guy. And he went back to Tokyo, and he arranged a call with his chief marketing officer. They simply gave me the job, and they told me it's for a period of 3 months, and that I would be doing a mixture of jobs, not restricted to marketing, but also to recruitment, to sales and business development, and I accepted it happily, and was working for this Japanese company, which is the indoor drone integrator. It is possible for you to fly drones in an environment that does not have any navigational system like GPS or Galileo system. So that was an interesting market to explore. It's a data that says the market for such devices is close to $4 billion, and we barely scratched the tip of it. And
So Siddharth, you had the opportunity to meet the Prime Minister of Luxembourg, and you also had the privilege to play a chess match with the Grandmaster. So how did this happen?
well, for the event that I attended in Luxembourg, the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister of Luxembourg were the chief guests. And after his spectacular and inspirational speech, I went up to him to tell him how good he was, and that his speech was very inspirational. And I spoke to him for close to a minute or so, and he was very humble. He was down to earth, and he asked me where I was and what I was doing, and I told him that I was a student, and immediately he started telling me, wishing me all the best for my endeavors in my career, and he told me to enjoy Luxembourg, and that he likes India very much. And yes, I did not expect him to be so down to earth. He's very simple. He's one of a kind, and pretty talented. The people of Luxembourg love him. That's why they re-elected him, and wonderful man. And for in the event, we also had several side events going on, and there were multiple companies that wanted to showcase their products, and it was a marketing event, and a few companies tried something different to stand out and attract the crowd. And one such company had a chess master, an international grandmaster from the country of Kazakhstan, who was going to play chess with interested people. And although I I was out of touch, I used to play district cricket and chess for the district of Krishnagiri, and I was out of touch, but I still wanted to use the opportunity to play against her. I don't remember her name. Was a wonderful, sweet lady. I played 2 matches against her. No doubt, I lost both the matches, but it was a very good experience. And just like any other Indian, I asked her the same question. I asked her if she knows who Vishwanath Anand was and whether she has interacted with him. And to my surprise, she told me that she not only liked Anand very much, but also she loved his wife, and that his wife has cooked her a meal when they met during a chess tournament, and she till day still remembers both of them very fondly. Yeah, that's the experience.
So how did the Amsterdam Drone Week land up with the present company you are working with right now?
After the internship was over with the Japanese company, I took close to 1 month break to finish all my exams, and after that we had the winter holidays, and I wanted to work for a full-fledged drone company this time, and I felt somehow that meeting people and then talking with them this way would be a far more efficient way to convince people to give me a job, than to write emails, innumerable applications on the website for internships and jobs. This was a more effective way. It shows how bold you are, and especially for a job like international business development and marketing, you need to see the people on how they talk and how they approach people, right? And that was necessary for the job. And I felt that meeting people would be the right thing to do. And yes, I knew there was an Amsterdam Drone Week, and I had my tickets booked way too early. I got them for a dirt cheap price, and it was really good. Uh, I booked all my hostel, everything was fit, and I planned everything out. And I reached there. I took the list of companies that would be coming there, and I knew who these people are. Gave requests on LinkedIn way before I met them. I downloaded the app that is used for networking that was launched for this event, and I knew who my targets were even before the event started. But apart from getting a job, the event was also very, very informative. In a single place, you get to meet people from 30 or 40 different countries, which is quite rare for someone who's from India. And this kind of thing happens very frequently if you are in any place in Europe, and more often in a place, international city like Amsterdam or Brussels or Paris or London. And the Amsterdam Drone Week was very important in terms of companies setting out targets for the next year, because this is the last meet in the year, and it sets out the agenda for the following year. And I interacted with close to 40 different entities, companies, consultants, lobbyists, etc. And I told a few of them that I would be interested in exploring job opportunities, and my company also had a very similar plan. They had an overseas expansion strategy, and they were hunting for someone who could take on the role of international business development, which was exactly what I was looking for. And he took my contact, the COO of the company, and then he told me that he'll go back to China and then he'll call me, and he did, and we start speaking, and within a matter of days I started working for them. That's how it happened.
Okay. So, Siddharth, tell us, like, what is the current trend of drone technology in India? Like, still, is it in its nascent stage, or is it under the development period, or is it already well established? Talking about the Indian market, and what value does this drone technology holds in the future?
Okay, so drone industry is at multiple stages of evolution in different market across the world. And within the drone industry, there are various sub verticals which are at different levels of development. Okay, and in India, overall the drone market is still at an early stage, while in Europe it is at an early matured stage. Also in the US and China. In China, it's more matured market, but in India, you still have more and more new companies coming in. There is very relatively less entry barriers, and the competition is also less in terms of manufacturing. That said, within the industry, we still have verticals like drones that are serving the construction industry, drones that are used for mapping and inspection, drones used in surveillance, right, and drones for delivery. And all these industry verticals, drones that are used for delivery is the one which is still at a very early stage and a nascent stage. So much so that only in the last few months the government has granted clearance for what we call as beyond visual line of sight flight for drone deliveries. And we have consortiums like Zomato, Swiggy, SpiceJet, etc. that have the clearance to carry out test flights and prove the government that they are capable of going full-fledged in terms of carrying out drone-based aerial deliveries. That said, it is still difficult because there are a lot of regulations, there are a lot of tests that you need to prove to the government in order to tell them that yes, you have a drone, and that the regulators have the confidence in your drone. So this on an average takes 4 to 6 months just to prove that your drone is capable of flying in Indian conditions over urban population. But that is also justified because tomorrow you'll be having a sky that is full of drones that are carrying packages, and the all-up weight of these drones could be close to 15 kilograms when they're carrying the parcel. And now imagine if these kind of, these are small aircraft, whichever way you might see them, they are still aircraft. And imagine if one of these aircraft crash and it falls on somebody's head. It's going to have consequences beyond one's imagination for the drone industry, particularly if it is in a very early stage. We have had crashes in countries like Switzerland, where the drone fortunately fell in a no man's land. We did have a big scare in Italy where a drone which was used to follow a sportsman during a live event crashed right behind him, and it was telecast in a national television. So, regulators were scared. Any drone project, people were quoting, this. I saw this drone crashed. Is the drone safe, etc. Even a minor event, if it happens, then it's going to affect the overall drone industry, not only locally but also regionally. If something happens in Italy, surely it's going to have its effect in France and in Germany and also in Netherlands. That's the effect of what is, if something goes wrong in some corner of the world, it would be a big hit for the overall industry. So people need to be very, very sure. People need to have the confidence before letting them fly in our skies. But once they start flying, then it becomes a day-to-day thing. We have drones that are delivering pizzas and drones that are delivering ice creams, KFC burgers in China, and when the drones come for landing, it might look weird for the onlooker during the initial period, but as time passes, it's not going to matter to them. I see videos in China, they react as if a bus or a car crosses them. It has become part of their day-to-day life. It's very normal, and because things are going to become very normal, they are going to have a lot of scrutiny at the beginning.
It was great talking with you being having a very diverse career experiences, right from being a pilot and then taking on to doing business on a global front. So that was a very great experience that you had, and it was nice of you that you had come to our show and shared your journey with our viewers. Thank you, Siddharth, for being on our show.
Thank you, Kritik Vasan. It was indeed an honor for me to be on your show, and you have been doing a few interviews, and I'm just feeling happy that I was one of the fortunate people to be featured on your show. And as I've wished early on, and I have texted you privately that tomorrow, if you become a big host, a famous one, a 9 p.m. host, then the pleasure would be mine that someday my friends are not going to believe that I was giving an interview to you. And I also wish you all the best in your noble attempts to bring the experience of SSB to the common man and help them clear SSB. And I also wish you all the best in your attempts to getting recommended in SSB. And feel free to call me and ask me if you have any questions.
Sure, Siddharth. Thank you for your great words. Also, let us know how our viewers could connect with you.
Okay, so viewers can connect with me on my email ID, and they can also feel free to get in touch with me on my LinkedIn if it is for professional matters. But if it is for personal tips or anything that you require help in terms of getting into the drone industry, or if you want some tips about SSB, then do contact me on my Instagram or Facebook ID.